I wanna ask you a question. Have you ever been shown a film that just did not sit right with you? That after seeing it just lit a fire within you, burning so bright that you felt like you needed to talk about it? So much so that you needed to make a YouTube style commentary video to talk about it? Well, that recently happened to me after watching the 1967 film called Playtime, written, directed, and starring Jaquiz Tati. So, triple threat. Do it all, baby. That's the type of guy he was. So, that probably worked out for him, right? Now, I want to just be transparent here. I was forced to watch this in a film class. Like, I had to sit down, it was part of the class for the day. So that's the only reason I watched this. I would never have gone out of my way to watch this. So I'm not just hating on it because it's not a Marvel movie. I have genuine critiques about it, and I don't want it to be misconstrued with I just don't get it. I don't want the cinephiles coming after me. I'm trying to cover my ass here. There's not just only bad things about it. There are some things I liked, and I'm not just hating on this. Does it outweigh the bad? No. I truly believe that this was a method of torture. This movie was 2 hours, and for the entire 2 hours, I wanted it to end so badly. But to understand why I hated this movie so much, let's take a look at what it's about, because most of you probably don't know what this movie is. So, Playtime follows the story of a man named Mejr Hellout. I think that's how you say his name. And this dude is just trying to have some sort of meeting. We don't know what the meeting is for. We just know he really needs to meet with this certain businessman. And that's kind of his whole story. And then, like, the B plot, I guess if you want to call it, is this American woman named Barbara. She's part of a women's only tour group that's touring around Paris, going to fancy shopping malls, going to nightclubs, and that's kind of her thing. These two characters, they kind of run parallel to each other. They're always in the same like building or place, or like right next to each other at the same time, but they don't ever really interact until the last act of the film, the last 30-40 minutes of it, where they meet up at this nightclub coincidentally. Like, they both just end up there and they just interact for the first time. That's kind of it. Now, this movie is filled with Three Stooges-esque comedy. I think that's kind of what he was going for, the director. So if you're a fan of like baseline physical comedy and no dialogue, this is probably the perfect film for you. But the scale of this movie rivals that of a Marvel movie, I think, if Marvel movies were set in the 60s and French. Everything you see in this movie, from the streets to the lamppost to the buildings to the nightclub itself, it was all hand-built as a set. The director hired over 100 construction workers to build this all. So I gotta give him props in that department at least. The set design, it's so cool. The set was so big that to fill the space, they couldn't hire just all these background actors. They had to use cardboard cutouts. That's how big all this stuff was, and this is all before CGI, of course, so cardboard cutouts. So the production of Playtime began in October of 1964, with filming starting April of that next year, and then filming ending in October of 1967. So this is 3 years, millions of dollars. It's reported that this film put Tati into debt, which is wild. So with all that investment that this man put into it, you would have hoped that it all paid off, right? Wrong. This bombed when it first came out, with critics and audiences alike not understanding it and not liking it. So that raises the question, why is this film loved and appreciated and shown to a bunch of film students nowadays? Why was it hated when it first came out but has such a high Rotten Tomatoes score now? And why do I think I can add anything new to the conversation when this movie has been out for over 50 years and studied and talked about enough as is? Well, I don't think I can answer the first question, but the last question, I can talk about it because I'm a film major. That's why, bitch.
What are you doing? Everyone knows that stupid game isn't real.
It's called Last War. It's going viral because the developers made a real game based off the fake game in the ads. Watch. Okay, here we go. Last War. All right, I'm multiplying, which is great because I need to kill all these little red men, and there's more of me to do it. Shooting the tires out, killing more, scoring points. Yeah, oh! And now there's a lot more of me, which is better to shoot all these tires. It's great. Now I'm gonna multiply into a whole gang of blue guys to take out the red guys, particularly this big red guy, and he took me out with one punch. Download Last War, the new viral mobile game.
So to prove that I don't just only have negative things to say about this movie, like, this is not like the Morbius of the 60s. I do have positive things to say about it. I wrote a list down, and I'm gonna read you that list just to prove it. There's a list on my laptop right here. The sets were amazing. I love the style, I love the aesthetic. You can tell there's a lot of thought and planning put into it, which I can appreciate. I myself worked as a set decorator PA on a Hallmark movie, so I appreciate set design now. What else? That's it. That's all I got. That being said, me saying that the set is my favorite part is probably a huge compliment. I think it could be argued that the environment, that the set itself is a character. It interacts with the actors and the actors interact with it. So I think there was a lot of like thought and consideration and blocking and choreography put into place for this movie. I think a lot of the time was spent probably planning this stuff out, which again, I appreciate. I love how much detail and thought was put into the blocking of every single character. With a film this large, for being made in the 60s, I think it's incredibly impressive in terms of set design. Like, I think it's super impressive. I think everything was phenomenal. So yeah, all jokes aside, the set design, 10 out of 10. I do like other things about the movie. My favorite part of the movie was the last 40 minutes when they're at this nightclub. This nightclub just opened and all the characters just kind of coincidentally all meet here. And that's when the best parts of the movie happen, in my opinion. It is the fastest pace. It's the most like comedic part. Everything kind of works perfectly and builds off each other as you see this brand new restaurant nightclub open its doors for the first time, but also like crumble. It like starts out like half built, goes to fully built, and then ends like unbuilt. Like things are falling off the ceiling, and I think it's phenomenal. Like I love it. If the entire movie was just that last 40 minutes, I would have such a different tune about this film. Like, I could probably talk for hours about how much I loved the last 40 minutes. So my favorite bit that happens within the entirety of the movie is, of course, within the nightclub restaurant setting. This one server just rips his pants, and he is forced to just stand out on the terrace because he doesn't look pristine and fancy enough to be out there with ripped pants. And so every time someone rips their pants, or like a button falls off, or their bow tie gets dirty, they go to this poor dude standing out on the terrace and they just give him his ripped dirty thing and expect him to just hand over his clean version of that so the other servers can continue going on. And he just hands it over, and I think you see this man slowly deteriorate, and it is so sad, but it's so funny and it works so well. So with the glazing of this film done with, let me get on to my real problems. I was in such pain while watching this movie. I was frustrated. I was bored. I was watching the clock more than I was watching this. The shots were so long. My attention span maybe rotted, but this was just such a slow and boring movie. Originally, Toddy wanted this to be a 3-hour long film. He threw out like 50 pages of the script. As much as I loved the restaurant setting, I was so brain dead from the first hour, 20 minutes that I couldn't enjoy it as much as I should have, as much as it was probably meant to be enjoyed, because I was so dead. The first 2/3 of this movie was like playing jacks or tic-tac-toe with your grandma. Like it was just painful. You wanted it to end. I do really believe that the the environment was leaned on way too heavily for the actors to interact with. I think that they were just like saying, oh, maybe we can try him looking through a fucking window to see the man's reflection and think he's at the building next door and have him get lost. That's a legit scene that happened. I'm gonna pull it up actually. I'm pulling up that scene. It frustrated me so much that in the middle of this recording, I'm doing this. Where is it? There we go. We're gonna watch this scene live. And okay, so this is the man that Monsieur Heloot wants to have a meeting with. And he's like, where is he? I thought I just saw him. He's in the reflection right there. And this dumbass really thinks that like he's next door, when really he's right next to him. And like I was so frustrated by this. Like I get the joke. Am I being nitpicky? 100%. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is lowbrow comedy. I was so offended by this joke that I had to step out of the classroom for at least like 15 minutes. That's how much I hated that. Now, I think I'm going to get canceled for saying this, but I don't think someone should write, direct, and act in their own project. I think you have your eggs in too many baskets, and like you can't fully like commit to one thing and give 100% to one thing when you're doing these 3 very important things. Yes, writing takes a step back, like you write it and then you do the directing and acting, but still, I think it's way too much. Like, write and star in it. That worked great with Good Will Hunting. Don't write, direct, and act. You're doing too much. I've talked a lot about Monsieur Heloot for most of this video. I want to talk about the American women, the tourists, the dirty Americans. They felt so obsolete, like Barbara and all the other women, but like what was their point? They were just running around, not really doing anything. Barbara, she just seemed to want to just take pictures, and like that was cool. I don't hate Barbara. I don't hate any of those women. They gave nothing to the plot. None of this movie gave anything to the plot. I don't even think there was a plot. Actually, no. Quick note. I didn't know what the plot of this movie was until doing research for this video, and I had to look up the IMDb synopsis for this film. That's how I knew what the plot of this was. I just want to make that abundantly clear. Transparency, you know? Don't cancel me. Yeah, when Monsieur Heloot and Barbara finally meet, it just feels random, like there's no payoff. Like, you're not like waiting for them to finally interact. There's no like sign of like, oh, they're gonna interact. Like, there's nothing. Like, it's not worth it. Like, if they never met, it wouldn't change anything. It would not change anything about the movie if they never interacted. Now, with everything being said, take my words with a grain of salt. Everything that I have said is from me watching this movie twice, taking time to reflect on it, doing a little bit of research for this video. So this is all just my own opinion. If this is your favorite movie, I'm sorry. I don't want to offend you, but this should not be your favorite movie. Whoever you are, if this is your favorite movie, get help. I mean, personally, my favorite movie is the Lego Batman movie, so no one can clown on that. It is a cinematic masterpiece, if you ask me. With everything I have said in this video, I would probably give this movie 2 dumb old men out of 5. That is my final rating on this movie. 2 silly old men out of 5. Silly old men. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please do not cancel me. Did I get an A, Gretchen?